All right. So, we're reading from Chaitanya Bhagavat and continuing on in the Madhya Lila, the chapter 1. Lord Chaitanya expresses himself. He just begins to do this. So Gaurahari Pandit, who had heard the discussion silently while everyone was picking flowers, he also went towards the house of Sukumbara, while the others went to perform their daily worship of the Lord. So Gaurahari Pandit thought, let me go and hear what he speaks about Krishna. So just a recap is, Lord Chaitanya started to reveal his inner feelings to the devotees the day before, and then he said, let us meet at Sukumbara Brahmachari's house, and I want to go more deeply into this and reveal my sadness to all of you, which is this separation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go on from there. He entered the house and hid himself. Sadashiva, Murari, Sriman, and Sukumbara, and other such highly advanced loving devotees, had already assembled there. Just then Lord Vishwambara, the crest jewel of the Brahmanas, appeared in the assembly. They greeted each other happily, but the Lord was all the time engrossed within himself. As soon as he saw the assembly of Vaishnava devotees, he began reciting different slokas. He said, I have found my beloved Lord, but then he disappeared. In which direction did he go? Saying these words, he fell down completely paralyzed. The Lord embraced the pillars of the house and began crying out, where is Krishna? And then he again fell down. The devotees became affected by the Lord's intense mood of separation from his beloved Lord Krishna. He constantly repeated, O Krishna, where is my Krishna? And the devotees became intoxicated in that mood, and they swayed and fell about the room. Gaurahari Pandit inside the room, unseen by anyone, fell down unconscious. The devotees lost all sense of direction and identity. Nobody knew where he was. They became so overwhelmed with love of God. Krishna, that all external... love of God. Krishna, that all external consciousness was lost in them. And Janavi Devi, Mother Ganga, was amazed at the whole spiritual scene. After a while, consciousness returned to the Lord, and he again repeated Lord Krishna's name and began crying bitterly. It was a wonderful scene, and everyone had lost themselves in an ocean of ecstatic bliss of love of God. The Lord fell repeatedly and continuously lamented. O my beloved Lord Krishna, where did you go? In this ecstatic mood, the Lord fell many times to the ground, unconscious, but no bruises or pain were visible in his transcendental body. Loud, jubilant cries and weeping in love of Krishna reverberated throughout the entire house, and Sukumbara's house became surcharged with the ecstasy of love of God. After a while, the Lord calmed himself and sat down, but tears of ecstatic love flowed unrestraining from his eyes. He asked, Who is inside the house? Sukumbara Brahmachari replied, Your beloved Gaurahari Pandit. Gaurahari Pandit entered with his head down, and his unchecked tears flowing profusely in torrents. This pleased the Lord beyond words. The Lord said, Dear Gaurahari, you are most fortunate and pious. Hmm. Yeah, a lot of yawning today. um, you are most fortunate and pious because of your childhood. You developed unflinching love of God, Krishna. But my life has been wasted so far in useless pursuit of material knowledge. Then finally, when I found the most precious object of love, he disappeared, and as a result of my previous and profane activities, as a result of my previous impious and profane activities. Saying this, Lord Vishwambara again fell unconscious to the ground, and dust covered his entire body. Sometimes his external consciousness returned, and then he again fell unconscious, totally lost in ecstatic separation of his beloved Lord Krishna. This was certainly the grace of God, that the Lord was not hurt in pain. It became impossible for the Lord to open his eyes because they were brimming with tears of love of Krishna, and the only words he repeated were Krishna's name. He embraced everyone and cried bitterly and asked, "Where is my beloved Krishna? My dear brothers, please tell me quickly." The devotees were greatly moved to see his intense pain of separation from Krishna, and they remained dumbfounded, lost for words. The Lord said, "Please, release me from this grief. I only need the son of Nanda Maharaj, the Lord of the Gopis. I need Lord Krishna." Saying this, he again fell down, his hair loose and mingled with the dust. The day passed unnoticed by anyone, and finally the Lord bade farewell to all the devotees. The devotees spoke openly, expressing their surprise. Each one had marveled at the Lord. Their external senses and body had become numb. The entire Vaishnava community was overjoyed at the new turn of events. Now that's kind of interesting. Here the Lord was crying in such separation, and they were overjoyed about these turns of events. It shows you how bhakti is kind of an unusual thing, an unusual phenomena, and why it took God himself to actually come here and teach it, because who ever heard of, you could be crying your eyes out, like in separation, and think it's a good thing, or experience it as a good thing. The Lord was falling down in ecstasy, and the devotees were swooning also. See how indirectly God is teaching, and the devotees they're teaching how to relish devotional service, and it is relishable. It's by their own examples. The entire Vaishnava community was overjoyed at the new turn of events, and the word spread quickly, and it was received by all the devotees with great joy, and spontaneously they responded by chanting the holy name of Krishna. When Nimai Pandit feels, they could not restrain their amazement and made comments like, "He will reveal God to everyone." Someone else said, "When Nimai Pandit feels a little better in this condition, then he can easily break the heads of the atheists." Another commented, perhaps because of the association with a pure devotee like Ishwara Puri, that he was the Supreme Lord. What, break the heads of the atheists? Well, you give us your comment. What do you think? You don't know? You know. Well, yeah, why don't you comment on it? I'd like to hear. Oh, okay. All right. All right, that's good. That's a good point. Okay, Why did they say such a thing that sounds like a negative? Break the heads of the atheists. So, but see, the devotees, they're raised into this very childlike state, and it's just like it said that Lord Chaitanya incarnated um, to kill the demons, kill the demons, like this. Now, there in his other incarnations, he actually literally killed the demons through weapons and all of this stuff. Yet everyone who was killed, they were actually received liberation. They were actually set free of having to enter back into this cycle of birth and death. They were actually purified by such killing. Now, Lord Chaitanya killed also atheists because that's actually what the Lord, one of his purposes for coming, is to purify the atmosphere in the universe, when it gets overburdened by negative energies or lower vibrational states of consciousness. I'm getting to that. I'm, embellishing it a little bit. Well, they're going to have to hang on. If they really want to know, they're going to hang in there, and they're going to, go through this, and we're going to, just not leave any stone unturned. So I was getting close to getting to that the Lord. So in this incarnation, the Lord doesn't kill anybody literally. He kills their atheistic mentality by attracting them, by showing like very, very deep qualities of respect and love and honor. In this way, he like dismantles the atheistic mentality, and many people became his devotees, and will continue to do so when these pastimes are explained properly and people become fascinated and appreciate them more. You can actually see these wonderful qualities that Lord Chaitanya demonstrated. I mean, there's so many wonderful things. I mean, just like the fact that he was actually looked upon like actually God himself, and yet he took on the burden of traveling all over India to teach Bhakti. A big sacrifice, just of his comforts and all this to share devotional service with people, even though he had to go here and there and act as a sannyasi and live very austerely like this. Still, he did it for the welfare of others, to liberate them.
That's something that they don't mention in the book, how he gave up all his comforts and everything.
Yeah, well, they do mention it, but they don't often say it as a glory, because sometimes, there's so many glorifications of Lord Chaitanya that are realized, more and more and more, and it's just like has these infinite amount of qualities, and as we deepen our revelations and understanding of his pastimes, you just kind of get more revelations about it. So there are so many that's already been brought to light, but there'll be so many more that will continue to come. And that's just how it is with the spiritual potency. It's just ever deepening. People even reading the Bible, because it's their spiritual potency there, go deeper in their revelation of Christ and his meaning and his nature and his mission, actually. So another commented, perhaps because of his association with the pure devotee like Ishvara Puri, that he has the Supreme Lord Krishna. Well, that he got Lord Krishna. This book is not really, needs a lot of editing. It's from India, They often don't edit things always so good. Now that's an interesting point right there. It shows you that, so the devotees, even though they're speculating about why the Lord has become like this, but they're all speaking great truths about it. This is because it's well known by associating with those who have love of God, like Ishvarapuri was a great saint, and so they say, well, because of his association with Ishvarapuri, who was a great devotee, that now Lord Krishna is in his heart. See, this is like the true meaning of, or the deeper meaning of when Jesus talked about, I am the gate for the sheep. I am the way, the life, and the truth. No one comes to the Father but by me. The idea is you come through the gate of the devotee's devotion. See, so that because devotion, God cannot be realized unless devotion awakens in the heart. Okay, this is another stage, even beyond liberation. Just like there's some very nice, noble souls, like teaching the path of liberation, like Eckhart Tolle and actually Dalai Lama, like this. And the Dalai Lama doesn't understand about the personal nature of God. He even admits that, yeah, well, I don't believe in God, but he believes in kindness, and he's a very kind, wonderful person with great qualities. But this devotional service isn't known to those unless one gets this special association with a devotee. In this way, they're the gate. This just clarifies the whole thing, because even great souls like these personalities, like current ones, like the Dalai Lama and the Eckhart Tolle, they don't understand Bhakti Yoga and devotional service. They just speak about oneness and one love, and they don't know that this kind of revelation and realization comes through the gate of these devotees who have this kind of love of God. See, that's its specialty. And that's why Jesus said, I am the way, the life, and the truth. No one comes to the Father but by me. Now, the misinterpretation of the Christians is that they think that Jesus was meaning that he is the only one who can teach this or bring one to the furthest level of truth. See, the furthest level of truth is devotion to God, because this reveals the deepest nature of God. See? So one can know God as money, because God comes from his body is this money thing. God is everything. God is the earth and the universe. So many people worship God as the earth, as the universe. Many people worship God as money by thinking about it all the time. See? So, but God's nature goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. This, like somebody can say, well, God is this oneness. We're all one. See, this is true. This is one level of actually a very deep level of realizing the truth. And so Lord Chaitanya and Jesus also, they come to the planet to reveal the deepest nature of God. And this is the meaning when they talk about, I am the way, the life, and the truth. No one comes to the Father, meaning the ultimate revelation of the Father, which only comes from love. This is the point of all the scriptures. They promote this love of God. See, because love of God reveals the deepest nature of truth. See, and it's even beyond this mukti and this liberation idea. So that's what Lord Chaitanya came here to reveal this to the world. And even now, only those who have devotion can understand this in perspective, and how it's not just all the same. There are different levels of revelation of the absolute eternal truth. So Lord Chaitanya came to teach the pinnacle of that, and that's this kind of bhakti and devotion where it causes transformation in the body, where tears come to the eyes, spiritual intoxication takes place. It's very tasty. It's very great happiness. I mean, everybody's looking to be happy. Everybody's looking for value out of life. People see value in knowledge. See, people see value in sense enjoyment. See, and so people want various types of value. But very few people understand the value of bhakti and what it can actually do for one. See, and so therefore God He comes himself in the form, like as Lord Chaitanya, in the form of a devotee, and his representatives come and they roam around, and they teach about the deepest nature, or how to realize the deepest nature of truth, because that will give us the greatest happiness. There's a human potential movement, and people involved in the human potential movement, they just think, well, why not use my full potential? Why not strive to be more of what I can be? I mean, that's their main motive for doing human potential work. It's just very thrilling to be better and to strive to be more and to understand, things deeper, in a deeper way. Okay? So that's kind of how it goes. Now, one of the beautiful things about devotional service that I've noticed is anyone can partake of this, and it's just basically becoming faithful in the path of devotional service. Whether you're a Christian who takes shelter of Jesus, who was a great devotee, a door to God, So, so by taking those who take shelter of the devotee and the devotional path and this process, it doesn't matter whether you're very, very fallen or very, very elevated according to material standards. One can relish bhakti. Matter of fact, if a person is the most fallen soul and could be even retarded, but takes to faith in the name and the fame and the pastimes of the Lord and the Lord's devotees, then one gets the benefit of this bhakti, regardless of if they're materially educated or cultured. So this is a wonderful thing. It gives hope to everybody. And Lord Chaitanya was demonstrating this when he was here, as well as Jesus too. Whoever accepted their association became elevated. Okay? So Jesus would make interesting comments, like when he would go to the Pharisees. Now the Pharisees were very cultured. They worshiped God. They followed rules and regulations of fasting, very much like Brahmins do in the Vedic teaching also. But they didn't like Jesus. They were a lot of them were envious of him, or they were competitive, or whatever. There were these blocks, and therefore they could not take advantage of getting this quality of this love for God, this devotion, this spirit, the Holy Spirit they called it. And they still call it like this. They couldn't take advantage because they didn't have faith in Jesus and his words, his teaching. So he made comments like he said, well, since you don't listen to the message that's coming through, you don't believe it, therefore these whores who are coming, they're very fallen. They don't even follow anything, but yet they listen to me. They listen to the message. They hear, because that's how we really enter. See, in the beginning, like in the book of John, it says, in the beginning was the Word, was with God, and the Word was God. See, so the words that are spoken by the devotees are actually the words that are inspired by God through the devotee. See, they have the deepest purport, the deepest import of life. Okay? So this was coming through Jesus. This comes through all devotees. Okay? This was coming through in the Vedic system currently, like through Prabhupada. I'm very inspired to share these truths. And he even said, these are not from me, they're dictated by the Lord. This is the mood of all devotees. We actually read that yesterday in Chaitanya, or I heard that on Chaitanya Charitamrita tape, where Lord Chaitanya was commenting. He says about Ramananda Roy, because Ramananda Roy said, "Oh, don't think that I'm speaking this. This is the Lord speaking through me." See, that's how it works like that. Because only these revelations are so deep that often the devotees themselves, when they're either writing or speaking, revelations come. Actually, for everybody, all creative persons know this. That whatever they do, the best of their work comes through them. And it's not because of some ego thing. It's actually it's coming from a deeper place and being shared with the world. So that to me is how I've understood the meaning when Jesus said, "I'm the way, the life, and the truth." It's both exclusive, that you have to, if you want to understand the deep level of bhakti and its nature and its value, and to do that you have to actually get it. You have to actually feel and experience devotion. See, because this is what reveals the truth. This is why Jesus, when he didn't, the Spirit wasn't given to his disciples when he was on the planet. He even said, when the Holy Spirit comes, it will reveal to you everything. It'll bring to remembrance all that I said. In other words, they would realize what he was talking about. And you can read through the New Testament and see that a lot of people didn't understand what Jesus was saying, as even his disciples. It just didn't make sense to them, because you have to have the Spirit, the Holy Spirit of God has to enter the heart. See, that's relationship, a divine relationship with the very deep inner nature of God, and this reveals the deepest revelation of God. See, that in that way, the devotee of the Lord at that particular level of consciousness is the door to that revelation. Just like one can go to like the current teachers that are very well respected and they have millions of followers, like Eckhart Tolle or the Dalai Lama, like this, and you can understand the truth according to the depth of their revelation of it. Okay? Yet the full extent of that can only be known when devotion and this love of God awakens in the heart in a very, very deep, profound way, and then the deepest revelations of the truth begin to manifest. So, in other words, also for those who may be Christians and who are actually feeling this wonderful ecstasy and devotion to Christ because of their faith in Christ, they could actually be amazed at what value they can get to understand their own person that they're worshiping by taking the association of those who are worshiping in devotion Lord Chaitanya or Krishna. This is what I found, is it helps us understand our own worshipable deity better. That's just how wonderful it is. And actually, this is a principle taught in Vaishnavism that's not really taught so much in Christianity, because it's more restricted in this point to Jesus and what he was teaching. But Lord Chaitanya was teaching this one follower. His name was Vallabhabhata. He was teaching how to understand the various nuances and details of devotion. And he even said himself, well, I learned this aspect of devotion and love for God from this person. He was a devotee, and he came and was empowered to teach this. or to teach this other aspect of devotion through this other devotee. See, people have different types of empowerment, different types of gifts, and we can benefit. And the world, this is a little prophetic because the world is in such a state now, or a stage, where everything is coming very, very close together. We have access to people and cultures and societies all over the world through the internet, which has brought us instant communication, very high-speed travel. We can go to any part of the world within a day. Within 24 hours, we can go usually to another side of the world, which would, people would either never go in their whole lifetimes, or it would take them months to go, or sometimes years. We can go in one day. See, so we have access to the information and the experiences of people from all parts of the land. Now, when we start to realize that by being open and letting others contribute to us, and without demonizing everything we don't understand, then we can begin to take advantage of great knowledge and information about things that we can not even know within our own religions or spiritual path or anything. See, because we're more open. And actually that's the great contribution that Buddhism has, is they have this thing of called the beginner's mind, where they don't, they try to get out of judgment and be open to listening and learning. Now this is a great quality. See? But often many religions teach this sectarian view, which may be necessary in the beginning, but then becomes a great stumbling block later on when we start to mature, that we cannot take advantage, we have to demonize everything outside of our own religion or our own spiritual path. See, so okay, maybe for the neophyte that's okay. So they need more rigid boundaries. But as we are maturing as spiritual beings, which we are, in the brotherhood of the universe, there's things that may be very, very helpful for our maturing and learning about truth, discovering more about that. See? So there's a certain point, like when I started, I felt it was really good when I started to take this position of not being attached to anything, but open to everything. Not being attached to anything material. Now, spiritual attachment is different. Being attached to Jesus or to Krishna or to Lord Chaitanya is wonderful, because nothing but expansion comes from that. And actually bhakti and devotion. Being attached to devotees who have the spiritual, or representation of the spiritual potency, is very favorable. See? But being attached to the world or worldly people or worldly consciousness is not so good, because it doesn't. If you become attached to a person who is closed-minded, they can't really do that much for you like that. You see, so this is really one of the teachings, is when we start to mature, to become attached to whatever is part of the spiritual potency, because nothing but liberation and expansion and all kinds of wonderful things comes from that. Now devotees don't just leave the world aside. They actually help people become detached from the world by, not artificially, but by becoming attached to what is spiritual. See, then it's a natural transition. Otherwise, you get false renounced, and you can go insane, actually. If you can't connect with the spiritual potency, and then you can't live a regular life, where you're like a ghost in no man's land. It's not like that. So that's why we need to connect with devotees who are devotionally attached, And then we begin to experience that. And this starts to loosen the hold that the world has on us. See? Then we can live our lives, and not be like, what do you call it? In the ocean of this attachment to the world, completely immersed in it. See? So then that's not very favorable. Okay. I wanted to talk about that for a while, this thing with Jesus. What the people are misinterpreting, I feel, what Jesus is saying, not understanding the full extent of that. But you see, by my taking advantage of what the Vaishnava, it's not even a religion, the Vaishnava teaching, and revelations, what they have to offer, it actually helps me understand Jesus better. I know when I gave up that, then I started to accept these other revelations, these other interpretations that only the Christians may understand. Then I lost this connection, of this truth, and then I went into a more closed-minded state. It's kind of how it works, and then you become like that, and you become more disconnected from the rest of humanity. You feel like you're just enclosed within. You don't feel this being a complete part of everything. You don't feel like how we're all like one big family, actually, ultimately. Some people know it, some people don't. Some people realize some extent of that. See, but that deepens. That same truth, that same love, that same God is in everybody's heart. See? So in that way, we're all connected. Okay. So while the devotees were happily engaged in dancing and singing, the Lord became totally immersed in his mood of ecstatic absorption. He went to the house of Gangadas Pandit. He offered his respects to the feet of his teacher, and his teacher got up and affectionately embraced him. Gangadas Pandit said, "What a glorious life! You have liberated both your families and mother and father, and all your students have been awaiting you anxiously. They have not opened their books since you left." Now you see, Gangadas is saying that whatever happened to the Lord has liberated so many people. Now this is a value of bhakti. See? Now the Lord, acting spiritually intoxicated by thinking about God and this strong bond between himself and Krishna, who represents God, a particular manifestation of God, is such a great thing to get and to attain somehow or other, that it not only liberates you, but it liberates your family, it liberates your brothers and your daughters and your sons for many generations. I say this is great value in that. There are many people studying all kinds of knowledge to develop, so they can become wealthy and they can travel all over this. I mean, we can look on the internet, a lot of self-help stuff going on and all of this stuff. But you'll see, they'll say, hey, come and take this course. And now this is not putting it down. I just get things in perspective, because I also find some of these things have some value. But they say, take this course and learn this knowledge, and you will be able to travel all over the world. You'll have all these boats, and you'll be free, and you won't have any money concerns. Now this is okay, and this is good. This is why a lot of people do it. Millions are going after these things. See that? But none of them say this. By developing this kind of knowledge and becoming wealthy, you'll liberate your family. You'll liberate your brother. You'll liberate your sons and your daughters. Eternally, they'll go to a spiritual realm where they never have to suffer again. They cannot give that boon, but bhakti does. So I say there's great value in that. Huh? But how many people know this? How many people know the value of bhakti? They think, well, why should I cry? Why, when I think about God or chant, why should I appreciate somebody who's crying and laughing when they chanting these mantras and this love is awakening in her? Why should I appreciate them? Well, that's how you get this. And if you get this, it automatically, without effort, you liberate your family and your friends and the world by just attaining this kind of devotion. And this is what Ganga Das is saying. Well, look, Lord Chaitanya attained this, and look, he's liberated all his family for getting this. See, just the perspective, you see, and no one who is just teaching about knowledge, about how to manipulate the world or even develop powers, will ever say, well, by doing all of these things and cultivating this, you can liberate your family. Isn't that interesting? I find that very fascinating. This is why Lord Chaitanya came. Lord Chaitanya said, hey, my devotees are here to teach the value of bhakti. There's value in it. Even now, people don't know the value of, even amongst Vaishnavas, even amongst Christians. They don't know the value. If I'm a Christian and there's persons that have such faith in Jesus and they don't criticize and they are ecstatically just relishing Jesus and remembering and thinking about Jesus, a lot of Christians don't know that they should be close to those persons because that's how you get it. It's infectious, just like Lord Chaitanya. Those who came in that room with Lord Chaitanya, and they got it. The Lord started swooning. They started swooning because of their faith and their friendship with Lord Chaitanya. They're being open to him. So there's so much value in devotees. In this way, they're the gate that leads to this level of revelation of truth, which liberates your family and your friends and everything else. And this is the deeper meaning when Jesus was talking about seek the kingdom of God and all else will be added. See, this is a bhakti principle, because if you really at this stage, then everything becomes drawn to you. Even liberation comes and you don't even care about it. You just, it just comes to want to serve people. People who come to a discourse and they listen favorably to a devotee, just to listen, they become liberated without even trying, without any method, just by hearing. And then gradually, by listening more and hearing and maybe some service, they start to awaken this devotion and this bhakti, which liberates your family, your friends, everything else. So this is very valuable, I would say, huh? Sometimes I've forgotten that myself. Yeah. So you anxiously say, your students have been awaiting you anxiously. They have not opened their books since you left. And even Lord Balaram had come in person and told them to read, they would have refused. You have returned to brighten everyone's days. But go home now, and tomorrow come back and begin your teaching. The Lord again offered his obeisances to his teacher before he left. How? I just think it's just amazing. Who knows and who cares?
That's amazing.
Wow, this whole bhakti process is amazing. I could slap myself for, taking it for granted. What an idiot. So, oh my God, it's amazing. But I learned a lot in the process. That's the one thing, It's like that. Okay, so the Lord again offered his obeisances to his teacher before he left. And all the students surrounded the Lord like many stars surrounding the moon. He went to the house of Mukunda Sanjay and sat in the courtyard of the Durga temple. The whole household of Mukunda Sanjay was overwhelmed with joy. The Lord embraced Purushottam Sanjay and drenched him with his tears of love. The ladies, elevated with joy, made auspicious sounds, and the whole house was reverberating. reverberating with reverberating with jubilant sounds. The Lord glanced mercifully at everyone and returned back to the house. He came and sat in the temple room and then affectionately bade everyone farewell. A little bit about this path here of the Bhakti. It's interesting in the sense that a devotee who really is tasting this path, you got to actually start to relish it. Everything becomes insignificant. This knowledge. People strive for knowledge and to accumulate wealth and knowledge, and it's very difficult, very hard to get, to change. To go and like they talk about changing your paradigms and your belief system, and you go from changing what you have inherited from many, many generations to changing this thing. Now, you can do it, but it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort and a lot of time. See? But devotees, if one is on a devotional path, this is another thing, is you get freedom from this very difficult path of trying to change yourself, to become, like that, because you're not only doing it by your own efforts, but now you're employing the efforts of Bhakti and the Lord and the Lord's devotees and the Lord's devotional potency. See, and this causes a transformation quite naturally and quite easily, actually, and effortlessly. And you get the benefit of all these other paths that people are striving for: sense enjoyment, economic development, religiosity, liberation. You get the benefit by doing bhakti of all these benefits, where you generally have to strive for them independently. Like, I can cultivate knowledge in the New Age and like the human potential movement and become very wealthy and what do you call, like, impressive and stuff like that. You can get that, but you don't get liberation necessarily. That you have to go and practice that. You have to go and do meditation. Matter of fact, many people in the human potential movement, as I've noticed on the internet, that are getting savvy, they're doing some meditation for this, to get this liberation and flow state, as well as cultivating knowledge like this. They're doing all of these things. But you see, you got to do them independently. Now, bhakti, just by performing devotional practices, especially at the stage where this devotion is awakening, you don't have to go for liberation independently. It just happens without efforts. No, your meditation is just thinking about the Lord with love. Just meditating on the qualities and the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and Krishna, and then this love awakens, and then liberation comes, follows you. See? Whatever you need is drawn into your life, and even if it isn't, you can just go around as a beggar and you be satisfied with bhakti. This is why Lord showed this. He had devotees who were satisfied with bhakti, whatever position they got, just by their karma, their life. There were these paupers. There was this Suklambara brahmachari, and there was Sridhar. Now, Sridhar was a householder, but he was a very poor person. He could barely had any clothes he could wear, but he had bhakti, and he just loved to chant. He loved to think about Krishna, and he just did his little. He was just naturally a householder, had a little business he was doing, and he was happy. He didn't strive to become better. at anything. He just stood in his position and just relished bhakti, because that was, everything became insignificant. He just did what his karma and dharma was, and everything, worked out. And then the Lord had another devotee who was completely poor, had nothing. He would go around and beg. And he was, in a sense, they were on the same level as Suklambara and this Sridhar, even though the householder was maybe a higher position because he made a little money, he was a little more responsible in that way. But there was this beggar just went around and begged, but they had the same love, the same satisfaction. The beggar is thinking, why should I put effort to be anything different than I am? Because, what is the point? I just want to think about God. It makes everything insignificant. This is the point. Now, Lord Chaitanya showed also amongst his devotees, he had amazingly rich people. He had Ramananda Roy was a very rich government servant with elephants and everything. But he had the same love that Suklambara Brahmachari, the poor beggar, had. And he was just, he didn't change his position either. He just, oh, these elephants are here and the servants are here, But he, he knew what was important, and that was this love for God. Matter of fact, the Lord called him. He didn't even tell Lord Ramananda Roy, well, you can come to Jagannath Puri and be with me, but you got to sacrifice the elephants and servants. He said, hey, bring them along. He didn't tell him that, but he brought his elephants, he brought his servants, he brought this big fat pension that was given to him by a thing, because it was just naturally there. But he knew he was just in his position because he knew what was important, and this is the love of God. So the Lord in these pastimes demonstrated that he gave the same love to anybody and everybody, and none of them even cared about changing their position. But you know what? Those who don't have this love, they care very much about changing their positions. Sometimes they can do it and sometimes not, because it's very hard. Hard path. Sanatana Goswami in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita wrote this great poetic verse right in the introduction, and he glorified the chanting process, because this is how we really get it, is by chanting. It's an easy process to do it. He glorified the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He said, oh, all glories to the Mahamantra, because by chanting this mantra, it has freed me from the hard work of following sadhana bhakti, of the rules and regulations, that level of it. He said, I don't have to do deity worship. I don't have to follow all these stringent rules and regulations of the Vaishnavas. All I can do is chant and think about God with love. That's all I want to do, and that's all I need to do. See? When ecstatic love awakened in another instance in the devotional scriptures of Ishvara Puri, Madhavinda Puri, ecstatic love awakened in his heart, and he just said, look at this, it's amazing. Gone are my practices. I don't even need to do this, all these, like the Brahmin thread thing, he didn't need to chant that. He just chanted Krishna with love, thought about the Lord with love. See, that's bhakti yoga. That's why it's so valuable. And now there's just a lack of people understanding things in such perspective. Lord Chaitanya was considered God, or you could at least consider him as one of the greatest saints ever been around. But people who know him very intimately said, this is an incarnation of God. When he came here, he didn't teach anything else. Once he did other things in his early pastimes, but then he just gave it all up and just did bhakti, and taught that as the essence of all truth. And he drew that out of the mouth of Ramananda Roy when he asked Ramananda Roy, what is the greatest education? And Ramananda Roy was pretty radical. He said, hey, there's no education that is worthwhile except devotional service, because it gives the highest boon and the deepest benefits. Mm. Yeah, you don't have to fill your mind with all kinds of things and knowledge and difficult paths. You just think about the Lord with love. That's what God is doing Himself. I mean, Lord Krishna, in his deepest pastimes, was not interested in knowledge or anything. He just liked to think about his devotees with love. That's it. And the devotees are doing the same thing. They're just thinking about God with devotion and love and relishing that. I mean, it gives the greatest happiness. It makes you cry, it makes you laugh, it makes you spiritually intoxicated. It's great fun. No greater pastime than that in the world for anybody. Okay, this is probably a good place to stop, huh? Thank you very much for listening, everybody. Have a wonderful day.